This isn't your land. This isn't. The United States was not for Americans. It was all stolen, not even just from Native Americans, from Mexicans too. If you're living in the states of California, Nevada, Utah, New Mexico, most of Arizona and Colorado, parts of Oklahoma, Kansas, and Wyoming, and Texas, then you are living on stolen land. But we don't really talk about it. We know that they took the land from the natives, and yes, the reparations they're getting are awful. They're just getting something. They're at least getting the recognition that it happened. We aren't even getting this recognition that it even happened in the first place. When I learned about it in school, I didn't know about this. I wasn't taught, oh, the U.S. just straight up provoked war and stole it. No. I'm told that because it's not what they want us to think. Are we talking about not only how the Mexican-American War sort of started, are we talking about some of the ramifications of it and the awful things that came because of it? First of all, President Polk, he's the one that he provoked Mexico. He tried stealing Texas. He just sent his troops there and expected Mexico, and as well, sent someone there to negotiate with them to say, hey, let me buy your land. When Mexico said no, they took this as like a sign of war and sent their troops there. So what did Mexico do? They retaliated. Maybe murder's a little much. They killed/hurt 16 people. And Polk said that, and I quote, they invaded our territory and shed American blood on American soil. When it wasn't even American soil. It was Mexican soil. Mexican soil that they tried to steal. And then turned it around and blamed it on Mexico. This is just like every other event in history. They always blame it. They blame the victim and say that the aggressor is the victim and that the victim is the aggressor. They use the press very skillfully to do this. But here, not even the people around him supported him. Even in his time, Polk was scolded for unnecessarily and unconstitutionally starting war. But, he received no punishment for, stealing 10 states from Mexico. He stole about half of the country, half of my or our country. There's not been any reparations since. If anything, it has been less reparations. Now we're just getting kicked out of our own country. This was our country. Then you guys just came and stole it. And they directly did this later on. But first, before I get to that, the topic of Polk and what the people near him said. Union General Ulysses S. Grant later called the Mexican War one of the most unjust ever waged by a stronger against a weaker nation. Ulysses S. Grant said this. Lincoln also scolded him for this. Everyone scolded him for this, but he didn't get punished for it. And they still took it. They still stole it under the pretense of, it's a war. Because it's war, now you can do whatever you want, essentially. And what did they do later? What did they do later when, since that land was Mexico, who was in that land? It was Mexican, since, if you're in China, it's going to be mostly Chinese people. If you're in Africa, it's going to be mostly African people. And you were in Mexico, so it was mostly Mexican people. So, of course, most of the people there were Mexicans. And what happened when the Great Depression came? They were blamed for the Great Depression by Herbert Hoover, who then implemented one of, if not, I'm pretty sure for the times, the very worst deportation program of the times. He deported up to 1.8 million Mexican people just because they had brown skin. And 60% of them were U.S.-born citizens. 60%. No wonder they're Mexicans. It was Mexico. What, now because it's legally America now that they're just going to magically turn racist? What? He did this because, as America loves to do, they love to blame it on people of color. They love to blame it on black people, Mexican people. They would say, the oppression was our fault. When in fact, and I quote, in fact, our estimates suggest that it may have further increased their levels of unemployment and depressed their wages. It made it even worse. Because we were doing lots of the lower jobs, the not as skilled ones. That's what they use us for. That's what they've always been. That's what they did with the Bracero program as well in the 40s, 50s. But that is for another time. I have now talked about how the U.S. stole our land and then kicked us out of it. Kicked off their own citizens because they were brown. They kicked them out because they were Mexicans, and they're trying to do it again. Trump is trying to do it again in 2025. He says he wants to deport about 1 million per year. Trump is wanting to do so much. He's wanting to do exactly what the past showed us not to do. And we're not saying no. We need to know these stories of how our people have been treated, so we can stop it from happening again. So we can stop it from happening now. Because otherwise it's gonna. And we need reparations for it. They stole our land and they deported our people. And now they criminalize us and they won't let us back. They say that we're making this country worse when it's our country. This is our country that you all stole. You all stole it and gave no reparations, gave nothing. All you've given is pain, suffering, disease, and death.